Bobby Jindal. Two great examples of what the 10th Amendment is all about. I want to take a minute and just recognize a few people on the stage with me. My great partner, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas, David Dewhart. Susan Combs, our comptroller from the state of Texas. I appreciate you being here. My darling daughter, Sydney. My son and his wife, Meredith. And the love of my life, the woman who has made every day in my life better. Because almost 30 years ago, she said yes to a request that I'd been making for nearly 16 years. And my wife, Anita. And I want to go back to these two governors just a second. They're such great friends and competitors. And, you know, Bobby I have to watch kind of close because he's over on the eastern side of Texas and he'll slip across and steal a job or two if I don't keep an eye on him. And he'll sure come get a football player. Bobby's an LSU guy, so he's all about football right now. He loves to talk about football right now. Anyway, listen, it is important, but the only scoreboard that matters is tomorrow. And it's the scoreboard when the caucuses meet and we win the big Iowa caucus tomorrow. That's the one that matters. And I know I got a couple of great members of the United States Congress that are here. One from your neighboring state of Missouri, Sam Gray. Sam, thank you for being here. Another star of the United States Congress, Mick Mulvaney from South Carolina. Mick's here with us also. These two guys understand when we talk about that they are on the leading edge. And there's more of those members of the United States Congress, United States Senate, which David soon will be a member of, Lord willing. And that understand how important when we're talking about making America more competitive, when we're talking about what this country needs is a President of the United States and a Congress that will work with that President to pass a balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution. That understand that one of the most powerful ways that you can impact that culture of corruption and what's going on between Washington and Wall Street is to have a part-time Congress. Cut their pay. Cut the amount of time they spend in Washington, D.C. Cut their staff. Send them back home to have a real job like you all have to deal with. Live under the laws of which they pass. Yeah. Somebody said, that's such a radical idea. And I said, no, it's not a radical idea. I said, we have the great opportunity to operate the 13th largest economy in the world in the state of Texas. And our legislature meets for 140 days every other year. They come in January of odd years, they get their work done, they pass the laws that need to be passed. We have a balanced budget amendment. They take that $600 a month that we pay them, and then they go home to their real job, Sam. And they live with their constituents, and that will work. It will work in Washington, D.C. It's the power of the people. And if Americans are ready to really take this country back, which I feel it in my soul, that they're ready to take this country back. They've seen 4 years or 3 years of this president trying to spend our way to prosperity. Well, let me just ask you, are you better off today than you were $4 trillion ago? I mean, seriously, Mr. President, you can't print more money. I mean, Bobby nails it on the head when he talks about there's never been a country, a state, a city, or a family that's been able to spend themselves to prosperity. It doesn't work, Mr. President. It's never worked. And Americans know that. And they are ready to take this country back. There are young men and women serving around the world today who are great patriots, who are ready to have a President of the United States that does not go anywhere and apologize for America, because they're out there putting their lives on the line, as they've done so many times before. No president should ever apologize for America. We are exceptional. You think about what the men and women of the United States military have done through the history. David, we were just talking about your dad and the great sacrifices our fathers made in that World War II generation. Young men and women who are serving today. How many veterans are in this audience? Thank you for your service. God bless you. There's a couple of veterans up here on the stage that I just want to point out a second, because it's so important to me to have individuals like these who are supporting my candidacy, because they understand not only was I willing to volunteer and serve our country back during the Vietnam conflict as a pilot in the United States Air Force, but also having been the Commander-in-Chief for 11 years in the state of Texas and seen our young men and women be deployed multiple times into these theaters of conflict that we've been asked to send them. And one of them who's here with us today, matter of fact, two of them here were with us today, that have extraordinary stories. One of them is a young Navy SEAL. And in the mountains of Afghanistan in 2005, he was on a mission to kill or capture a very high-level target. And they were overrun by Taliban fighters. They were outnumbered 150 to 4. And the fight was on. And all of them valiantly fought. 1 Medal of Honor recipient, 3 Navy Cross recipients, and he was the only one to come off that mountain alive. Another 16 of his special operators were killed when they were coming to rescue him. You may have read the story. A New York Times best-selling author, the lone survivor, Navy Cross recipient, Marcus Luttrell. And his beautiful wife, Melanie. Melanie, thank you for coming. Dan Moran, come up here on the stage. This young Marine, Captain Dan Moran. His Humvee was hit by an IED in Afghanistan, and he and one other young Marine were the only 2 that survived of the 5. I got the phone call from one of my classmates who was in theater. He said, one of our kids are coming your way. He's probably not going to make it. He's got 3rd-degree burns over a substantial part of his body, and his lungs are burned really bad. But he's on his way to Brooks Army Medical Center. I said, roger that, we'll have our sister-in-law look him up, look after his family, do the best we can.